This keeps getting crazier and crazier. Have you ever seen a lawyer try to defend their client and accidentally incriminate them instead? Well, that's exactly what just happened with Letitia James. Her own defense attorney pulled off a legal version of, "Hey judge, here's all the evidence you need to convict my client." And be honest, I'm not even exaggerating. So here's the scene. Letitia James is in hot water over allegations of the mortgage fraud, big allegations, the ones that can get you locked up quick. And her really high-priced lawyer, Abe Lowell, tried to put out the fire with a fancy defense letter, but the problem is he didn't bring a fire extinguisher. It looks like he brought gasoline. So shout out to White Collar Frauds bringing out all of the latest of what is going on with Letitia James. And I've been checking it out. So I saw this earlier this morning and I was like, I have to talk about this. The lawyer, right? Her lawyer tried to argue that James made an innocent mistake when she signed that legal document saying that the property in Virginia would be her primary residence. According to him, she corrected the mistake in other paperwork, except all of that paperwork, it was signed before the mistake even ever happened. I'm gonna say that again. It was signed before the mistake ever happened. Her lawyer literally proved that she knew what she was doing before she did it and then did it anyway. Let me rewind for a second, because you have to understand how ridiculous this timeline is to appreciate how bad this cover story is. Back in August 2023, Letitia James was helping her niece buy a house down in Norfolk, Virginia. No big deal except they applied for a mortgage with terms meant for people who actually live in the house. Primary residence rates. That means lower interest, better conditions, basically a cheaper deal. But for James to qualify, she has to claim that she is going to live there. And the thing is, she is my New York's top prosecutor. She's supposed to be legally required to reside in New York. That's what her job is. So how is she going to be able to live in Virginia and run a statewide office in New York at the same time? So you guys see the problem, right? Here's where things get a little sticky. On August 3rd, James mailed her mortgage broker and made it very clear, quote, "This property will not be my primary residence." All caps, no confusion. She even filled out a Section 5 form on the mortgage application saying no to the primary residence question. Done deal, right? Wrong. 2 weeks later, on August 17th, she signed a power of attorney giving her niece the right to close on the property. And in that power of attorney, she explicitly states that she intends to make it her principal residence. Her declaring that is what locked in those juicy prime resident terms on the loans. So first she says, "I'm not living there." Then she turns around and legally swears, "Yeah, this is my home now." And she can't say she didn't know. The timeline makes it pretty obvious. This screenshot could be the smoking gun in this Letitia James mortgage scandal because it destroys the entire timeline her legal team built their defense on. So you guys see right here, the very top, we got the date, August 3rd. That matters a lot because Letitia James' lawyer claims she mistakenly signed that power of attorney, right? Remember, this must be a simple error, supposedly corrected in other paperwork. But the document right here tells a different story. This is the email from the mortgage broker sent to Letitia James herself. In it, he explains what's in the loan file. Section 4 indicates that the property will be occupied as the primary residence for Shamise. I guess that's her niece. The loan was originated as the primary residence. Your declaration is marked as a non-occupying co-borrower. So let's stop it right there. This confirms that on August 3rd, Letitia James had already declared that she would not be living at the property and her niece will be the primary occupant. That's crystal clear. But then we see the Section 5, the actual declaration from the loan paperwork, and it literally asks, "Will you occupy the property as your primary residence?" And the answer James checked is no. Bold, simple, is ambiguous. She's not living there. But this is where things get wild. 2 weeks later, on August 17th, she signs a power of attorney that says the exact opposite, that she intends to occupy the property as her primary residence, declaring that secures favorable loans, lower interest rates, you're gonna save some money, because it's only meant for people who live there full time. So now breaking down her defense, if this POA was a mistake, then the declarations in the loans file fix it. This document dated August 3rd is the very paperwork he's referring to as the proof of the correction. Again, in other words, he's using a pre-mistake document to explain away a post-mistake action. It doesn't make any sense. So first she says, "I'm not living there." And then she turns around and legally swears, "Yeah, this is my home now." And she can't say she didn't know because the timeline makes it pretty obvious. This is where her defense completely collapses because her lawyer tried to spin it like the power of attorney was just a mistake. You know, legalese, mumbo jumbo, just a little clerical hiccup. And he says that James corrected later in mortgage paperwork. But when you look at the actual dates, there is no correction. There's nothing filed after the power of attorney that fixes everything. What her lawyer points to as the proof of the correction is the same August 3rd email and the loan form, the ones that she submitted before signing the power of attorney. So let me ask you guys this. How can you correct a mistake before you make it? Like, what kind of Back to the Future defense is this? Wait, we're talking about Terminator timelines here? Are we supposed to believe that she time traveled to the past to fix paperwork that she didn't even mess up yet? What really happened is James knew from day one that she wasn't going to live there. She told her broker. She filled out the form. Then 2 weeks later, she signed that power of attorney anyway, knowing that it's the exact opposite. Why? Because the power of attorney locked in better mortgage term. She tried to save money. That's intent, that's motive, and that's fraud. Now let's talk about how bad this all looks. Again, bad optics. It just looks potentially criminal. That's why on April 14th, the head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency formally referred Letitia James to the Department of Justice. That's not just some Karen filing a complaint on Yelp. That's the guy in charge of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, who oversees how federal mortgages are handled. And they're saying this looks like a felony. In this letter, he lays it out. James declared that the property was her principal residence on legal documents, closed the deal with favorable terms, and did it all while serving as New York's Attorney General, meaning she couldn't possibly live there full time. That referral opens the door to charges like federal wire fraud, bank fraud, mail fraud, and making false statements. And here's the wild part. Those are the exact charges her office has used to go after other people, including Donald Trump. Now, if you've been following this story, her and Trump have the beef. It's personal. All this is politics. Them going back and forth, tick for tack, trying to destroy each other.
You want me to sit in my seat and stand idly by and allow this craziness to happen? You could come after me if you want, but you elected me to stand up. You elected me to use the law. You elected me to go to court. You elected me to continue to challenge this administration. You elected me to stand up for the least of God's children. You elected me to continue fighting on.
I can say unrelated to that, she's a disaster for New York. She's a horrible, horrible human being. And I think she's a total crook. There's no question about it. But that's just my opinion. Pam's going to have to do what she wants. She's a very bad person. She's a very, very bad person who campaigned solely on, I'm going to get Donald Trump over and over again. She's a sick person. But that's has nothing to do with what Pam does. Pam is going to do what's right. She always does. I've known her a long time.
You know that the Trump trial was Letitia James' biggest moment. She hit him with that huge civil fraud case, claiming that he inflated his property values to get better deals on loans. And that's why the judge ruled in her favor and ordered Trump to pay over $454 million. And obviously, Trump is pretty pissed off about that. And the sad irony of all this is that it looks like she was doing something very similar, obviously on a lower scale, because she finalized her own Virginia mortgage, the one with the false declaration, just weeks before she started the trial. So while she was prepping her case about Trump's statements on loan paperwork, she was out there signing her own questionable documents. You cannot make this up. She prosecuted Trump for fraud while her own signature was still drawing on something that looked exactly like it. What's the difference between the two? Trump inflated values. James lied about the occupancy. Different moves, same playbook. Tell the bank what they want to hear, locking the deal, and then cash out. So what now? I don't know at this point. Every day it seems like there's more and more damaging information about Letitia James. Again, this is all alleged, but it just does not look great. If the DOJ treats her like anyone else, this turns into a real investigation. If not, then we're looking at a system where some people get punished for lying on documents and others get promoted. So we have to be clear here. Yes, this is back and forth partisan issues and political stuff, but in terms of crime, it is not a partisan issue. This is a principal issue. If you're going to be the face of justice, if you're going to throw the book at scammers, fraudsters, people trying to take advantage of people, then your own hands need to be clean. You can't break the law on Monday and then lecture the people about ethics on Tuesday. Her lawyer tried to distract with legal citations, jargon, and a lot of timeline tricks, but all he did was basically point directly at the contradiction. He didn't bury the body. He just handed a shovel to the investigators and said, hey, dig right here. So here's the big question. Will she be held accountable? Or will this all quietly disappear because of her position? Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Is this just a paperwork mistake, or did the state's top cop get caught doing the same thing she locked other people for? And before we bounce, appreciate new Patreon members and all the channel members. You guys are the engine behind this channel. If you haven't signed up yet, check it out. It's a lot of perks, first access to videos, all that kind of stuff. We're building something really special here. And also subscribe to my email newsletter. That's where I drop a lot of exclusive updates, behind the scenes breakdowns, and early access to stories before they even hit YouTube. We're getting very close to 100,000 subscribers. The growth over the past week has been extraordinary. To everyone who's new here, welcome. Appreciate you coming by. And to my day ones, Thank you very much. From talking about DoorDash to now I'm talking about Letitia James. The channel's growing because we stay hungry for the truth. And as always, appreciate every single one of you. Let me know what you guys think about the story in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video. And I'll see you guys in the next video.